Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Coleman, and I'm with Plane Time here this morning in Orlando, Florida, 27 June 2020. We're still in the middle of our pandemic, and it has kind of affected a little bit of our operation. I do not have my mask on because I am separate from our guest today that will be introduced to you soon. But we want to thank first our volunteers and all of the staff that goes on to put these presentations together. And Plane Time is it's a safety related maintenance subject and topic discussion, and we will have on occasion just some very dynamic people that have something to contribute, share, and gain knowledge in the field of aviation maintenance to try and encourage our youth and our young people. And for me, anybody under 60 is youth. I used to be youth one day, trust me. I was young. However, we got to pay back. We got to give it back to society, and it's been such a great industry, a great ride. And if you really enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. You've heard that before, and it's true. But today, we would like to introduce our guest, and has traveled all the way from Tennessee last night, drove in early this morning, got here a little bit early, a guy by the name of Michael Jannine. Michael.
Ben, nice to be here.
Now you can. It's nice to be here. That's not what you said at 6:30 this morning.
Tis true.
That's true. No, Michael. Thanks for your time. And Michael, tell us a little bit just about your past and your history. Where'd you come from? What'd you do?
Originally, I was raised in Massachusetts, and I went in the Navy. Started my aviation adventure back in the late '70s after school. Was an air traffic controller, which is where I really learned all the ins and outs of aviation, and in the traveling part of it, in the great work schedule, which is what really got me addicted to aviation for the rest of my days. And working 12 days a month didn't hurt either.
Wow, 12 days a month.
As a 20-year-old, it kind of spoils you for the rest of your days if you're not wanting to work in a factory.
But in that spare time, it gives you a chance to go and learn a lot more about just life in general. In your 20s, you got the world in front of you, and you never really think about retirement at age 20, do you?
No, you don't. You just think about, I thought about living in the moment and having a great time, and I always made an adventure of where I was at, whatever I was doing, and tried to have as much fun as I could.
Well, and it's all about having fun. And and one thing that I need to mention here, Michael, we're live on the set, and what I love about live is anything.
That's the
because you can mess with Obie by saying something and not be actually saying something. And he's back there. What happened to our audio? Audio. We lost him. We lost the mic one. It's live, and that's the fun part about doing live stuff is because you hear anything in the background, but it's live. That's life. Talk up a little bit, Michael.
Okay.
Can't hear you. Tower, I understand. I can't understand. Speak up. Repeat. Say again.
Oh, you hear it all. The air traffic control part of aviation was a wonderful experience. Completely enjoyable. There's different aspects of it. Whether you're in dispatch, the tower, which is what most people see as control towers, that's a completely different environment from the radars, approach controls, and all the different approaches of the sensors environment. And it's very interesting and challenging.
And that, even control towers, they have maintenance that you have to do on control towers.
Oh, yeah.
Avionics, radio transmitters, and a lot of maintenance.
And washing the proverbial windows.
Wash the windows. You got to keep the windows clean.
That's what you do as a rookie.
Michael, we're here. Let's get into. I know we don't have enough days to get into somebody that's been in aviation for 40 plus years of all the different jobs and the paths and the avenues that you took to get where you are today. But the thing when I got to know you were a DAR, designated airworthiness representative for the FAA, and you got the majority of your exposure through Globe Aero. Phil Waldman, good friend of mine, great guy.
Great guy.
And but Phil is he's molded and brought a lot of people into the industry, and I'm glad prior to Phil, go ahead.
Phil Waldman set the standard for the aircraft delivery business. And that was a standard he set back in the 70s and went all the way through his retirement in about 2010, which was a high standard to follow.
Well, people knew him all over the world that we're getting aircraft. And,
Yes.
you're a pilot. You've commercial instrument.
Commercial instrument, about 4,000 hours total time.
Okay.
Mostly hauling freight, seafood and stuff like that, small airplanes. So it was nice. It was enjoyable. I liked it and all. And then the opportunity arose through the GI Bill to go back to school and get my A&P license, and I did. And that's what brought me down to Florida many years ago, and I never left.
Well, I noticed an accent. Is that Alabama or Arkansas?
Not really. A little further north, called Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Say car.
Boston.
Boston. But I was talking to John Golia yesterday, and he kept talking about the car. The car.
Yeah.
The car. And I said, what's a car? What's a car?
Go
But
park your car.
it is it's a car. But no, it's a car. And it's just, it adds to our dynamics of what makes America, America. I digress. Let's talk about maintenance. What got you involved with maintenance? Your physical dexterity, outfitting aircraft, doing overweight permits, because a lot of your aircraft coming out of Globe usually had a ferry tank.
Yes, they were all tanked with the extra fuel tank, temporary fuel installations, and they all operated overweight, which required a special flight permit from the FAA for all that. And the rules and regulations that govern all that changed quite a bit from the time I started till the time I ended my time. And it was an interesting challenge, and it was a lot of fun, and it gave me a lot of exposure to the international side of it, and I tried to take full advantage of it.
Well, I think you did, because you got a lot of experience and you met a lot of people. It gave you a chance to interface in with the FAA, the regulatory branch, and it also, I think, just being around. How would you recommend, Michael, that somebody gets involved with doing aircraft mods and refitting and so forth?
Well, it depends on what type of mods and fittings you want to get involved in. The standard modifications nowadays are for cameras or drones or being able to outfit all of that into normal operating procedures to fly in a standard category, or in a supplemental category with a special airworthiness certificate. That process varies. There's a lot of different things. Whatever interests you, you can pursue pretty much, because aviation's constantly changing, and with that constantly change in technology, there's constant processes and procedures that always change. So you have to keep current with everything that interests you.
Does it involve a lot of reading, or?
Yes, it does. It does. You have to be a good reader, and it takes a lot of time. It does consume a lot of effort to be fully current and aware of all the other issues that are involved, not just the regulatory issues.
You mentioned earlier your ATC career, that it taught you how to interpret the regulations.
Right.
Give me a little bit of a.
Well, we used to say that the FARs were written by a Philly lawyer. There's no.
A silly or a Philly?
Both. There's no real hard interpretation of the FAR that's written so vaguely that you can't interpret it multiple ways. And it's just how it interfaces with all the other regulations.
Yeah, but my days with I used to be with FSDO.
Yes.
And regulations, we would always say, were written gray to give a certain amount of latitude one way or the other, rather than hard, fast. Well, there's a few that are, you just cannot do that.
Correct.
Thou shalt not do this.
That's absolutely true.
But others would say shall as opposed to may.
I
Some
know.
of those words.
Yes. However, the FARs are written as a general rule. They're interpreted as orders and notices. And then that comes down to advisory circulars. And that's basically how the flow of the regulatory process works for all of that. So it's, and you have to learn how to follow that whole system through from the start to the beginning and the end to get where you want to go with all of this. It can be involved and complicated at times, but if you really want to get your objective accomplished, you have to go all the way to the end and finish out your project.
And it's this is something a skill that you gained actually with the Navy working ATC.
Yes. Yeah.
And you transferred that skill all the way through your career. Is that what I'm
Pretty
hearing?
much. Once you learn the rules, everything else is pretty much common sense. You know, you have the rules, but every day the exact situation will change every day. So you never have 2 days that are exactly the same. And if you don't want a challenge and adventure in life, go work in a factory.
Punching out parts.
There you go.
Piecework.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, if that's what some people really enjoy doing, do it. But if you, but aviation, the industry offers so many challenges. However, it can be a lot of fun if you enjoy a challenge.
Oh yeah, and I've always looked at it as a challenge and an adventure. How can I get this accomplished safely?
We'll get into we're going to do a couple segments. We'll get into that on a different segment, but get back into the foundation of what makes Michael Jannine. What do you really enjoy? I mean, and keep it clean. What do you?
It's what I really enjoyed the most out of the certification part of it. Whenever I was doing a certification for an airworthiness certificate or an export certificate, was being able to work it all the way through to see whether or not it was actually going to be acceptable or not acceptable, with all the different countries involved and all the different rules and regulation that you have to follow to see if the airplane was actually acceptable.
Yeah, and then follow through that to completion.
Follow it right through to completion.
Michael, we have been streaming this live, and I don't know if anyone is aware of that, but are you aware of that? We've been streaming live?
No.
See, it was seamless. He didn't even know we were streaming this live, but we're going to take just a short break here, folks, and come back with us. You never can tell what's going to be dropping in between our segments here on Plane Time, but we are so glad that you're tuned in or watching, and record it, play it back if there's something we missed. And it's something, usually there's, I can't believe he said, did he really say that? I got to play it back. Thanks. We'll see you back.